Bill says, in Bill's pre-prepared question, what were everyone's first bad games that they remember? And feel free to throw your own answers in the chat, everybody, and we'll go through those when we get there. I'm guessing, Bill, you've asked the question because you have a prime example of what your first bad game was. Would that be the case?
Yeah. I think it's a toss-up between Teddy Boy on the Master System.
Don't think I ever played that.
That's a terrible game. My sister chose that over Streets of Rage on the Master System, and I've never
what a bad choice.
But it was really, really bad. Or Dizzy Egg on the Spectrum, which was really dull and boring.
I mean, it's a classic though, Dizzy. You can't.
Yeah, but
you're not allowed to knock Dizzy because it's a classic. But yeah, you're right. It was rubbish.
It's a terrible game, and it just wasn't fun. And there was so many rip-offs. Hungry Horace was another one that I'd rather play over Dizzy, and that was bad enough as it is. But yeah, Dizzy and Teddy Boy, I played those for far too long because they were games that only I had and nothing else to play at the time because you didn't get games very often, and I hated them forever, and they're awful. So if you want to go see some bad games, look those up. What's yours, guys?
I'm trying to think of mine.
Jack's from the era when, you don't really get really bad games these days, do you? You get average made games and cheaply made games, but genuine, actual bad games.
What was Jack's first console?
My first console, I had a PS1. My uncle got me a PS1, and I had a PS2 as well, and I had a Game Boy Advanced for a bit, but I mainly played on my DS.
Abes Odyssey is a bad game.
Oh, hot take.
What game, Bill? Sorry?
Abes Odyssey, that was a bad PlayStation 1 game.
I played Abes Odyssey. I quite liked it.
Really? Did you get past the top?
It was poorly executed in some ways, I would say.
I think most people enjoyed it because they could make the title screen.
I didn't enjoy Medieval. Medieval. Yeah. That wasn't the greatest game. I didn't really enjoy that much. I had
John, what was that police helicopter game on PlayStation 1? What was that called? That's a bad game.
G-Police?
Might
be G-Police. Did you play that, Jack?
No.
Nah.
I mean,
Jack's played nothing but good games.
Jack's only had decent games.
The only game I remember fondly on the PS1 was Wacky Races.
Thing is, that would have probably been too young for you to even remember it because it would have been so early in your life.
No, I played it loads. I mean, I got a PS1, was it 2004? Yeah, and Wacky Races, but my Wacky Races, I had to put, I think it might have been a copy or something, because I had to put another disc in, then take that disc out, and then put Wacky Races in order for it to load.
Cool, Vargas, that's a good shout. Bart versus Space Mutants, that's a terrible game. I hated that too.
That was just for printing money, wasn't it? They didn't need to make it. They didn't want to make a game there. They just wanted to have a picture of
the Simpsons wrestling. That was the Simpsons wrestling was a
wait a minute.
Hold on, we've got contention here. Jump in, Ash. Tell us what is actually a good bad game. Well, no, what is a bad game, genuinely?
Nah, I'm just here to contest Simpsons Wrestling, because that's one of the most fun games ever, because it's
it's a fun game, but it was janky. I'm not saying it's a bad game. I enjoyed it, just it wasn't the best in terms of
Simpsons Wrestling. I can't agree with you, Ash. I'd love to, but it's not. It's just really badly done.
It's a fun game. I enjoyed it. I had hours of fun playing it against my sister, who literally pressed one button, because she was 2.
What was the worst game that you can remember? The first bad game you can remember, Ash?
I don't know. I didn't really play bad games. Because if they're bad, I stop playing them and I don't remember them.
That's a fair enough point.
Because the philosophical question is, if you enjoy it, is it really a bad game? The purpose of a game is to entertain. If it entertains you, is it a bad game? The idea of a bad game is to break out some philosophy talk. It's a social construct based on what is subjectively seen as being bad. Whereas, like Jack says, having enjoyed The Simpsons wrestling, is it a bad game?
So if I repose the question as to say, what was the first game you turned off because you didn't think you liked it, then what would that be?
I don't remember. I'm really picky, so anything at all.
Skyward Sword. Not Skyward Sword, Breath of the Wild.
Breath of the Wild is a key one, where I just went, I'm not going to play this.
We're not ever going to let Ash forget about Breath of the Wild, are we?
I'll be honest, Bill, if you phrase a question like that, I don't really have one.
For me, it would be Altered Beast on the Mega Drive.
Really?
Yep, because it was obviously packed with the Mega Drive before Sonic came out, so everyone in the world owned Altered Beast, and it was just really bad. It was too difficult for a young player, as I was at the time. And yeah, I just didn't like it. It was horrible. Let's see what the chat has to say. Bad Lego games.
Lego games are great.
No, I think that's the previous conversation I'm looking at there. Kizra, Sonic 06. Emily, Glover on the N64. Iconic, Lego Batman 3. Fanata, Sonic 06.
It's wrong.
I'm not going to argue the points for everyone, because it's fine. Sheepspin, SpongeBob Revenge of the Flying Dutchman on the PS2. Reynard's first bad game they remember is Beavis and Butthead on the Mega Drive. No, that was a very bad.
That was the wrong laugh.
Yeah, it was. It almost went to just my default crusty laugh, didn't it? Moving on very quickly. Space Mutants, Bart vs. Space Mutants for Vargas. And Vargas loved Abe's Odyssey. Fanata seems to like G-Police. Urban Chaos, maybe Bill was at the game, or even Sky Police.
I'm not too sure. I have to go away and have a look. I remember the logo being like a backwards G and a frontwards P. So maybe... Iconic said Persona 5 was a bad game. Iconic's got a real bee in his bonnet about that, hasn't he? We know that. Conker's Bad Fur Day. Ooh.
That's not bad. That's just hilarious.
I think that is dated badly. It's aged badly.
It's been better on the Xbox version that came out was better than that. Oh, the South Park game on N64. Yeah, that was bad. Pod Racer. Yeah, not great. Reynard City. I'm not reading that one out. Lint Simulator. Thief Remake didn't have the soul of the originals. Altered Beast is jam, says Fanata. I'm guessing jam means good in young person speak. But
I think so,
you're
yeah.
wrong. And yeah, weirdly, lots of people recalling G-Police. Well, that wasn't a game I was expecting to come up in the show tonight. Oh, while I think about it, FZero fans. So that would be Emily, Fanata, Bill, Ash. Ash pointed up again.
No, me.
Mimi. There's it's over an hour long documentary by Digital Foundry on the entire history of FZero. Very good video. Not sponsored.
Ash, did you know, and you probably did because you're a lot quicker than I am, that the reason it's called FZero is because it's faster than an F1, and that's where it's got its name from.
No, I didn't know that.
Oh, did you not? Oh, see, I'm not alone! I'm not alone!
You've always had F3.
I didn't even know there was an F3.
And then you have F1, and F0 is F0 because it's faster than Formula 1, and it's the future of it.
Know that. I'm so glad I'm not alone.
It's also zero, I guess, for zero gravity, isn't it, I guess?
I don't pay attention to F1, so I didn't know that there was an F3 or an F2.
Right?
So... the thing is, if you're expecting me to know stuff based on a completely different form of sport, then no, sorry. And
fair enough.
It's FZero because it's
You
zero
gave me a hard time. You gave me a hard time, John. It looks like that you're the minority after all.
Well, as a Formula 1 fan, I am very well used to being in the minority. So on that note, let's move on to our final topic. Do you think we will ever be able to trade in digital games? So like a virtual trade-in system?
No, it would be way too difficult. There'd be way too much management involved because you'd have to make sure that like the game was legally acquired, that it wasn't hacked, that it hadn't been modded. Like there would just be so many things that you would have to like check and like make sure that it's not being emulated, that it's being sold properly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't think so. I think it's going to be just too much. Like there would be too much involved in it.
It's a fascinating topic because it's been in the gaming news recently because the government have been tasked to try and make it possible or to get people to make it because the way that yes, and the American government as well because of the way that when you take ownership of something. And what is written on money and things like that is as you take ownership. There's also something about the fact that you have the ability to sell it on to again or remarket it again. But that was never that was never the case when digital was invented. No one thought about that and how you can't physically pass it on again. So they've been tasked to try and say we need to do this, but everything Ash has just said has come up. But then in counter to that recently, which is what fired this conversation up again, they've said, well, you can do it on digital marketplaces. If you're if someone could go onto your digital marketplace and buy a special sword and then sell it on to somebody else, why can't you do that with video games on video game marketplace? And that's what inspired this debate. So I totally agree with you, Ash. I think it's very difficult to do, but by law, an owner of a product should be able to then do what they want by passing it on again. That's why pre-owned games always existed. Just can they do it? Is it possible? And are they right in saying that if you buy something off a digital store, like a sword in a game, and then you can sell it on again, like they do in Diablo 3 and all that kind of stuff, could they do it?
Or are they that's why they now have that caveat that when you buy it, they specifically say you're buying a license to use this product. You're not buying the actual thing to own. So they're clear with their wording to get round various countries' rules around digital refunds and all that kind of stuff, which is obviously a crazy complicated system because it's different in all different markets with all different digital stores, isn't it? I think to have some sort of a second-hand digital market, every online store, so say like the Xbox store, the PlayStation store, Epic, Steam, this, that and the other, they would all have to get together and agree on how does the depreciation of the value of a game go. Does it go by how long the game has been out based on demand? Is it based on how long it's been played by the person? So if you say you bought something on day one, if you wanted to trade it in back to the store you bought it from and get credit back towards your next game or something, do you get more back if you've only owned it for 2 days and you've only played it for 10 hours, or do you get less back if you've played it for 20 hours? Do they track the time that you've used the game and that kind of stuff? I don't see how they could put the correct value on there that would be fair for everyone. But at the same time, how do they? Yeah, they would never be able to put a correct value on something because it's different for everyone. Go on, Bill.
Well, what you're describing there is like the marketplace. By law, that marketplace was created from the original. I've read about this because I find it quite fascinating because I'm sad sometimes. But that's the result of people being able, by law, to be able to sell something on that they deem worthy. If I buy a set of trainers from a shop for 50 quid, and then I choose to sell it to you for 25, that's my prerogative. I can sell it to you for whatever price I want. And that goes for everything. And that was the purpose of when you own something via money. That's what it says. You now own it, and it's up to you what you do with it. The only reason things like devaluation and pre-owned games and all that come to a sort of a balance where you'd expect a new game to be 45 quid and a couple of quid off a brand new game and it depreciates as it goes is because that's what the shops dictated. And the rivalry between the shops kept them like that. But what the law is saying is that if you've bought something offline and it's digital, it's up to the person who owns it then to choose how or how much they sell it, whether it's more or not. And it's up to the person who buys it to see whether it's what it should be. And I guess what they're asking or what they summed up at the end of this article, was is it that impossible, or is that what the gaming owners have told everybody because they don't want to have the pre-owned market come back in a big strong way? Could they do it? But are they saying, oh no, it's far too complicated?
They could 100% definitely completely do it, because you get discounts on games that have been out for a while on digital stores all the time. Literally, you could look and find everything that's discounted on the PlayStation Store right now for games that have been out for a while. Jack, any thoughts on this, mate?
I mean, a lot of the thoughts I have, you've sort of covered, but I think it's a tricky one. There's so much coding that would go involved to the stores and the players' consoles themselves. You are right, Sony, Microsoft, whoever would have to track the individual players' playtime and achievement time, and say for example,
they can do that though, can't they?
Oh yeah, there is playtime already. Yeah.
Well, they do that through achievements. They do that through achievements, and they do that through playtime and all the stats they give you. But they also do it through like CD keys and piracy keys to make sure you're playing in an individual version of it. So if you've put the CD key or whatever they call it these days to say this is a legitimate version of the game, they know that. So therefore, wouldn't you just be selling? Because I know there's a website that does this anyway. Wouldn't you be just selling that right over, that CD key or that piracy protection over to the new owner? So it's not that they can't do it, is it? They can do it. They just want to, and are they misleading everybody and saying this is not possible because it would lose us loads of money if we actually did do it?
It is a tricky one. I mean, with so many digital games becoming a thing now, and with a lot more digital games becoming this expensive, I mean, what's put me off is the price of the new Ratchet & Clank. I really want to play that. It's so expensive. It's like £70. The new Battlefield. If people bought them and then sold them, it could encourage a scalper culture as well, but digital scalper culture. Like, you know how people sell accounts as well? Like, there's risk of that in as well. You've got the account recov like thing, or like account selling, which could become a problem as well. I think it could potentially work. I personally, there's a few digital games that I would sell if I could, that I've bought in the past to get some extra money. Like, I own several copies of the Arkham games on different consoles. If I could sell them for a few quid, that'd be great. Because I have Arkham Asylum City and Night on both consoles. So it's like, if I could sell the Xbox versions, because I don't play it as much anymore, I gain that money back. But I think it might not be an impossibility, but I'd say we're not there yet.
Digital and how it's been built up, it prevents you from sharing games. It prevents you from
game share.
Yeah,
like you have the same account on.
There's but you can't pass it over or gain money or not. And like Fanat has worded it quite well there, publishers and platform holders hate used games anyway. So what incentive do they have to allow it? That's what they're potentially saying in these court cases that they're having at the moment. Is like, it's not that you can't do it. You're just using our ignorance that we don't know how your industry is built to say it's not possible. And they
could totally do it. But when they control the market, why would they want to relinquish control if they don't have to? I was about to say so, and then I thought, no, I'm not going to.
Just say well.
Well,
it's put me off. It is all driven by money, Iconic, basically.
Excuse me.
My final point would be, at the moment, digital marketplaces are a bit messy, to put it simply. But I think it's all going to go away anyway, because eventually we're all going to be on subscription models anyway, and we'll be streaming our gameplay from the cloud. And so we won't have our own owned files of anything. We will simply have our save files, which we'll have forever, of the games that we play. But the games we play, we won't own them, certainly no more than we do now, because we'll simply be paying a tenner a month to Sony, and we'll just stream.
Maybe that's what they're hanging out for. Maybe that's what they're holding out for, to get there.
We'll have this messy digital store nightmare for this generation, and then a transition in the following generation. That's what I think.
9,